All right, it's 7 o'clock, so we will call the June 18th regular meeting of the Northport Village Council to order. Roll call can show that all trustees are present and accounted for at this time. Item number 2 is going to be approval of the agenda amendments or additions. I would like to amend the agenda, add a second public comment at the end of the meeting. That would become number 10, council comment 11. Adjournment will be number 12. Any other? Yes.
Yeah, I talked to Jared about this. I would like to eliminate or table 9. Just because I think this is not something we need to waste time talking about. It's within the purview of management of the building, which I think staff can handle just as well as anybody. I'd just rather move on.
Didn't you ask for us to talk about it though? So that you guys are
So I guess I have to make a motion to remove that item if it gets work.
Second. All right. Motion made by Will, supported by Joe to remove item 9, discussion of office chair purchase. Discussion.
I think we should not purchase new office chairs, so I'd like to talk about it.
Well, technically, it's these chairs, not office chairs. And my concern is that we're already pretty tight, and so if we got nicer ones with like arms, we would
Make time.
it.
Are we gonna talk about it or not?
Okay,
Are we
right.
removing it or? are we-
I'm just saying that I would vote against this motion.
Well, vote against tabling it.
Yeah, she wants to talk about it.
Well, okay, so there's a motion on the floor, so we can't discuss it. But I'd just rather take it off.
I don't care. I think that we can talk about it at the work session like we normally do. Like.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, that's
That's fair too. Let's do that.
okay.
Okay, but all in favor of removing item 9 from the discussion on the motion made by Will, supported by Joe, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Right, item 9 is removed.
And I have a question about the agenda. Earlier, the D8D, the line item said, some of the resolution said rejection on the bid from Elmer's, but since we got a new bid, now we can choose tonight.
Yes, you
I
can
got
definitely modify that resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Right, any other additions or amendments? Okay, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All right, all in favor of the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Right, brings us to item 3, which is our public hearing on our fiscal year 26-27 millage rate and budget adoptions. This time we'll open the public hearing. And does anybody have any public comment specifically regarding the budget? This would be a public comment for the budget only. Okay, if there is no public comment regarding the budget, we'll move on to the resolution portion. Anybody?
I move we adopt resolution 2026-13 as presented.
Or motion was made by Susan, supported by Hugh, to adopt resolution 2026-13 as presented. Any discussion from council?
For those in the public that haven't been, others discussed it several times. It's been on the agenda much. This is fine.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to the staff for putting together the budget and budget committee for their time reviewing it. Yeah. There's no other discussion. The motion was made by Susan, supported by Hugh, to adopt resolution 2026-13 as presented. Roll call vote starting with Will.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Edwin. Yes. And yes. Motion passes. Okay, that brings us to item 4, which is our consent agenda. A few more items in it than normal, but nonetheless.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second,
Moved by Susan, supported by Laura to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion?
I want to thank Laura for suggesting citizen of the year talks.
yeah, I think it's good.
I like it.
I agree.
I did have one question too. The tires that didn't get picked up, it from the trash pickup. Is that because, so in the future, if this happens again, there will be no tire pickup, so people should, and tires that they have left over, they should dispose other ways, right?
Correct.
I just wanted
It's
to
the
clarify.
responsibility of the owner to.
And it was a
take care of the tires.
miscommunication or misunderstanding between us and like the village and,
The last time.
or not Elmer's, GFL.
Yeah, the last time GFL did the pickup, they
Yeah,
collected tires. Our advertisements in the past, it said limit of X.
Two
number of
tires, yeah,
Two
yeah.
tires. They didn't pick up this time. They didn't notify us that they weren't picking them up this time. But it highlights how we need to have much clearer communication now about items that are be collected, not be collected, whether you're on a private road, not on a private road. Fortunately, we're learning that through those tires being left there. Like,
Yeah.
So just, I don't think that. Well, I think it's because of cost. They have to dispose. They have separated. So.
So since we're talking about that, I guess we can, did we get a final bill from them? Because they were charging us by pound, weren't they?
We haven't gotten a final bill yet.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
I'll definitely pass that along.
Got some waiters out
Yeah, right. We've been kind of, betting on where that's gonna fall. The budget was 26,000, right? 26, so. We'll see.
All right, with no more discussion regarding the consent agenda, motion was made by Susan, supported by Laura to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Would you do roll call because there are
Sure.
a couple items?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Edwin. Yes. Susan.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes,
Joe.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
And yes. Motion passes. All right, that brings us to our first public comment. Members of the public will have up to 5 minutes to address the council. And if you would state your name and place of residence for the record. If you want to unmute in Zoom or raise your hands in person, we can recognize you for the public comment. Sure, go ahead.
Excuse me, Campbell McLeod of High Street. A couple of things. I think it was a great idea to put in the water fountains out in the park. I think a great addition. I am for removing the dam and creating a free flowing stream. I see no reason to have a duck pond up there. And I understand there's a millage that's being proposed for this that's going to capture the cost to fix the dam and maintain its condition for some period of time, maybe 20 years. As I understand from the latest, that you cannot put in there a contingency. If it fails, this happens. If it passes, this happens in the millage. And I know that was something that the public wanted. Now, I do think there's a possibility, if that is the case, of putting together a fact sheet for the website that does discuss the condition of the dam, the fact that the millage, how those costs were built up, and what would be accomplished if the millage was passed. If the millage is not passed, you could put in this fact sheet that if funds are available through the state to remove the dam and have a free flowing stream. And I think that would be fair to the public. And the other thing I put up there is that what the millage represents to the property owner. In other words, how many dollars per 100,000 cost of the taxable home value. So if it's $20 per 100,000 value and it's $300,000 home, they can figure out how much this would cost them. I think what we saw this spring in the spring rains, with the sediment, well, by the way, as we all know, this dam has not been, or the dredging has not been done in 15 years plus. The sediments have filled up the pond, so it's reduced its carrying capacity. And we've had this spring an overflow, a topping of the dam that we saw some damage around the boards. And so every year, every rainfall, more sediment comes in, the capacity of the pond decreases, and the potential for loading and overflow, which would result in the failure of the dam, increases. I don't think there should be an interim fix here, because the real problem is the sediment. If you try and spend $15,000-$20,000 and fix the dam for a short period of time, that's money not well spent. So I think we should go ahead with the millage, unless you all can get up the gumption to make a vote here based on fiscal responsibility and the environment and whatever cultural features this duck pond has for the village, because it is in your capacity to do that. You were elected to make decisions for the village, and the added cost to the village for this millage is a result of not, making a decision at this table. So just putting that out there. I hope you have time and are able to get the millage on the ballot. It's a tight frame, but you got plenty of time to do it. So good luck with that.
Thank you. Looks like Betsy Malik, you have your hand raised.
I do. Thank you. Elizabeth Malik, North Township, and I understand the legalese that came back from your attorney. My only question is, we've all been operating on $1.5 million millage. That's the stated amount that you're figuring is going to cost to repair the dam. I don't know where that number came from. And I don't know if you've solidified that, if that's an old number or if that's a current 2026 number from an actual contractor. I also don't know what it is to repair the dam. And I think those two numbers would be very helpful to the public to understand if there is a difference, what's the difference, and who's doing the work. Hopefully they would be able to supply that number. I would appreciate that. Under your discussion, hopefully you'll get to that and be able to explain where that number came from, the $1.5 million. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comments? Okay, if there is no one else for public comment, we will move on to correspondence. There was, it looked like 2 letters of correspondence in the packet, one from Vicky Slot and one from Elizabeth Malik regarding the mill pond. Next up would be anyone else have correspondence? All right, that brings us to item 7, which is our planning commission liaison report.
So I actually was not at our most recent meeting. I do know that we just approved the master plan work, so that is surely continuing. I know they were working on the zoning amendments and looking at new aspects there. Jared has more that he wants to.
I'll just say a couple things. The R2S, which is something the planning commission has been working on for many months, I think is nearing completion. And we've talked about having a public hearing this summer when we have the most people in town. August, I think, is going to be a good time for that. So if the planning commission can finish a final draft in July, we can do that. And we also started talking about ADUs. And there are a number of issues to address with that. Some of it's just consistency. Some of it's adjusting what sizes are allowable because it's unclear in portions of the ordinance. So the planning commission just started working on that. But I could see that being ready for a recommendation within a few months.
Can I ask what R2S is?
So R2S is a new zoning district that was created when we adopted the new zoning in 2024. However, it was not created on the zoning district map. And so even though the zoning language was there, it didn't actually exist anywhere, and that is a problem. And because the zoning was approved without that map attached, now changing it to what the verbiage was would have caused potentially some homeowners to be upset because it was it would pull back things that they now were allowed to do. So there's been a lot of discussion. Thankfully, Jared has had a lot of really good insight and advice for that, of how to remedy that. And now it's kind of like formula zoning, but kind of not, like it's in between. And so like the restrictions, it's getting to the heart and the spirit of what the R2S was created to do, because currently it's R2. And just like everything else that's R2.
Okay,
But that means when we changed the zoning, it used to be 100-foot frontage. This is the biggest change. There were a
okay,
few, but
maybe we can talk about it later,
sounds good.
but I just wanted a basic,
It is.
thank you. I
It's a new
understand
zone.
now. I
It is on
understand.
the shoreline, North Shore, South Shore.
I understand.
Anything else for planning commission? Okay. That brings us to item 8. Some resolutions here, some other things to consider. Item 8A is the resolution regarding the Mill Pond Dam millage. We have
I move we adopt resolution 2026-8 as presented.
Second.
Motion was made by Susan, supported by Will, to adopt resolution 2026-8 as presented. Discussion. Yeah, Laura.
Yeah, so I still, despite the fact that I think the only one, but I am still frustrated that we are, I support the idea of a millage. I support using a millage to help cover it if that's what everybody thinks needs to happen. However, I still feel like Betsy's comments are similar to what is frustrating to me. I feel like when we had issues with the dam and had to go through all those reports and all of those things, we didn't review those reports because we had intended to wait and see what Eagle told us we would have to do. The plan, my understanding was we would talk about those things and evaluate and look at those costs and what the different options were once we knew what that was. That hasn't happened. It's on the CIP as something that's out the 5-6 years. So to me, I don't fully feel that there's this big rush to get this on the ballot right now without having talked about what are the costs of what's in that report? What are the costs to replace? What are they now compared to what they were? What are other options could there be to solve some of the deficiencies that environmentally people are concerned about? Because there are, maybe there's an option for fish ladders. Maybe there's these different things that could help resolve some of those issues. Or maybe there's not, but it's a park that we have had in the village for a very long time. It is a part of that park. It's been in the rec plan. It's been in the master plan. To me, I feel like I would be a lot more comfortable if we had, instead of just pushing forward and doing this millage without even knowing for sure what it is we wanted to do, are we for sure removing it? Are we not? The funding is the only thing that's holding us up. There are grants for both sides. It's just, they would be a lot harder for the other side. They don't not exist. There are grants that we could potentially utilize, especially if there was a fish pass involved, because there's quite a few that include that. To me, I would rather see that we have, like in meetings, little mini sessions that like this one is talking about what grants are available and what the costs are, what those solutions could look like. This is what it would be for removal, and this is what those solutions would look like. This is the history of the pond and how we could preserve or honor that if we're removing it. Like, what would be the options? What would that look like? So that people actually know what the two choices are, including us, and which are we thinking is the right thing. I don't think that it's a bad idea to have the public vote on a millage if that's how, if we want to save and preserve or do these different things. But I feel like while there is general information and a lot of feelings and opinions, I don't think that we've had the discussion about these different specific points, and I don't think it needs to all be in one meeting. But it's just, I feel like it went from, we'll talk about it eventually, it's on the CIP for 5 to 6 years, to let's do a millage, and now let's do it right now. I don't know, I'm just still frustrated that we're pushing to get it on there for that, but we're not even sure what is the solution that we're looking to do other than replace the dam with what is there eventually, or just take it out entirely. And discussing what is a free flowing stream, because there are other culverts. There's like 5 other culverts in the line. Jared and DPW have said most of those aren't big enough to be an issue to keep it from being free flowing. But when you look online, it's, and the cataloging of it, it says it is. So those would have to be looked at if we truly want it to be free flowing. And that's, again, different additional costs. I don't know, that's, to me, I would rather not push to have the millage approved right away and look at some of this information and discuss it. So that we know what it is we're looking to do, and that we even do want to save it or replace it or restore it, or, you know, or we want to remove it, but this is how we could do that and preserve the history, right? Like, what would that even look like?
Well, to respond to that, I think a lot of what your cart is on the wrong side of your horse, because you look at all the new numbers, which are going to be like the old numbers plus more. It's always, you know, and then by the time we get around to 2 years down the road, well, then those numbers won't be good. Then there'll be more, and then, you know, the numbers are never going to stay accurate, and so that's one thing. You're just going to be constantly updated. If the numbers have changed and done nothing but go up since we started talking about this, which was quite a while ago. Secondly, tonight is the first time I've ever heard anyone say that there is any grant money available to repair or replace that dam. And if that was true, we would have heard about it a long time ago. And so it's kind of the 11th hour, you know, plus 59 minutes. No, I've never heard anybody give any credible validation to any money being available from state or feds for repairing or replacing that dam. That's just a done deal. And if that's, you know, that's new evidence that I've never heard of. Thirdly, most importantly, is that you can spend all this time and have public hearings and run the numbers again and go see if those grants, these so-called grants for rebuilding the dam are available, but at the end of the day, based on our budget, so let's say hypothetically this board says, you know what, we do want to keep the dam. We're still going to need a millage to pay for it. And if the millage fails, the whole thing's a waste of time. So why don't we have the millage first, see if the millage passes, and then you can, if the millage doesn't pass, and you know, then we can look at other things. But this is all going to be a moot point if the millage doesn't pass. And I want to put it to the people and see what they say. And so, you know, you're basically just wasting everyone's time. If the millage isn't going to pass, the dam's gone. So what's the point of doing all that? And the answer is, I don't see any at all. And after 6 years, I'd like to call the question on this sooner than later.
Susan?
I agree generally with what Will said. We talked about this a long time. We dodged it a long time. Someone on this council warned me before I ran that I should not mention
The third rail.
that I should not mention it if I wanted to get elected. And the question did come up in one of the Zooms we had that's during COVID. And I said, I don't know. I have no opinion on the dam because I haven't looked at it. I haven't studied it. Well, I since have. And I've talked to countless people and know there is the There are thousands of dams like ours that have been removed in the last few years, all across the country, because there is no money to maintain dams that are for the only purpose of this dam is aesthetic, or that's the purpose. So I want to move on this. An engineering report told us, I think it was 3.5 years ago now, that we needed to remove the dam, or we needed to replace or remove the dam within 5 years. That was their analysis. Now they're only experts, you know, maybe we shouldn't trust them. But I'm ready to move on this. And this resolution says, no, I can't find it now. The last line of the resolution is, if the millage fails, we will pursue removal of the dam. And again, like Laura said, there are many ways to do it, but there are experts, if we want to trust them, who will suggest ways and who will make recommendations. And we can have a beautiful park where that pond used to be, and we can honor the pond with photos or history or whatever. I think people in the village are coming around to believing that it's not worth the money to maintain it properly.
Yeah, my one, I mean, I agree a lot with Laura. I think we need to absolutely have clarity, because everyone I've spoken to about this issue doesn't understand what the costs or implications are going to be exactly. But I want to sort of, you know, have an amendment to that, saying that I believe the reason for the rush is that we need to get the grant. Is that not correct? Is that's why we want to have it by November? Is because that's expiring?
No, it could. I mean, you know, who knows?
Branch can always go away, yeah.
Yeah.
You can put a voted millage on any ballot. The November ballot is going to give you the highest turnout that you'll have between now and November 2020. So you'll get the most electors showing up to vote for an important issue like this. I'd suggest that is a good reason to consider having it on this ballot. Particular, the deadline for getting it on the November 26th ballot for this fall is August 11. So, but yeah, I wouldn't say that it's, I mean, the grant funding is a piece of that. Because there is pretty significant grant funding that's been available for removal, and you can't guarantee that long term. But I think you could go as fast or as slow as you deem necessary.
To Betsy Malik's point in the public comment about the number that's included in the millage. You were the one that put the millage together, and you were the one, I think, that talked to Dan Devon regarding some of the numbers. Clearly, any engineering reports that are going to come with total cost analysis and the design are going to cost this council money. And we did pay for some of that already.
We paid for all of it.
Yeah, like, you know, the report we got, but just to that point, if you want to explain that.
Thank you. It's a good question. I wanted to address that. So there's a couple ways that you could come up with a number like this to put forward on a ballot. You could do the planning and design beforehand to a point where you know you have an engineer's estimate based on actual construction plans. You could even go so far as to bid for the project to know what those bid amounts would be prior to putting the question on a ballot. That would be, in my view, probably the most accurate way that you could derive a number for the ballot question. There is more to the cost of doing the project than just the bid amount from the contractor, however. You also have bond issuance costs and consulting fees. That would include design consulting, possibly legal review and permitting. There's a number of those miscellaneous expenses that would go along with that. So that said, that would be one way to go about it. But instead, what I've proposed is to use more of an estimate, okay? And I'll explain how I got to that estimate based on the GEI study from 2023. But you take the estimate and you project out into the future what that cost is going to be within reason, knowing knowing, and I think this is important to remember, that it's not gonna be exact. There may be a shortfall, and the village would have to cover some of those remaining funds, so I wanna be cautious about putting that number forward. So the number for replacement from the 2023 GEI study was 911,000 for replacement. Okay, and then I've added 20% to that, which I think is a very reasonable, justifiable increase based on the 3 years since then, and what we've seen generally with construction costs. So 20% increase to that, and then project out another 2 years, and also give enough room within that budget amount to cover bond issuance costs and design fees. That number gets you to about 1.5, which is what I proposed and was included with the capital improvement plan that the planning commission worked on, part of the budget this year. I feel good about that number. I think that is gonna be enough so that if you go to a bid within the next, let's say, 2 years, and it's in line with what GEI has estimated, you're gonna have sufficient funding from the village to complete the project. There's no guarantee in that. Construction costs, as we know, as we're seeing with the bid award this evening for the Rose Street culvert, it's not exact. Projecting construction costs has uncertainty built into it. Again, it kind of gets back to this issue of process, right? There's lots of different ways to proceed with this, but I do feel confident in that 1.5 figure, 1.5 million. I think that's gonna be sufficient to cover not just the construction costs, but also the other costs that I mentioned. And that's where it comes from. It comes from that 2023 study. And the voted millage would cover almost that entire 1.5. I'd have to go look at the exact number, but I think it's like 1.45 is what the millage is estimated to generate over the 20 years. Which I should also mention is not an exact number either, because as taxable values change, that millage revenue can fluctuate slightly too.
Go ahead, yeah.
Last point that I forgot to make is I would like, instead of, constrained by this room and limitations, I'm actually looking forward to having this as a public debate. And for as long as possible, this is another reason I want to have this vote tonight and pass it tonight, is so that people are talking about it when they're here at 4th of July. And we will get the pros and cons, and we'll get the yard signs, save the mill pond, rewild the creek. And you'll get the letters to the editor, and you will have a robust debate amongst the people. The one thing that won't really matter in the debate is anymore will be the money part, because that's going to be on the ballot. So that's going to be a set figure. Well, a flexible, but within. And by the way, I support Jared's math on this. He's got way more experience on this stuff, and I'm very confident he's got this right or close enough that it won't be an issue later. So let's bring it to the people, man. Let's put it on the ballot and let's have a vote.
What are you getting into?
Yeah, so if it's going to the ballot and we are doing that, if that is what passes, I would ask that we still try to have segments of our meeting where we are talking about some of these things, so people do know what the information is and it's not just a Facebook discussion, because that isn't necessarily factual. I also just do want to say that I have said before that there are grants to potentially save it and replace it. There are a number of them. That doesn't mean we would be able to get them, but one in particular, dam risk reduction grant, they have funded in the past 2 years 16 dam rehabilitation and repair projects, 20 removals. And there are a number of others. I mean, the Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund, the DNR Fisheries Habitat Grant, the Great Lake Restoration Initiative, NOAA Fish Passage Program. I mean, all of these, and again, like I said, a lot of them would need other solutions, but it's not that they don't exist, it just would be more work and maybe not possible. I just wanted to be able to talk about them, but if everybody else wants to put it to the ballot, and I would ask that we, still continue to have discussions here and not just outside of here at 4th of July.
If we're not looking for grants, then what's the rush besides it being the biggest turnout election.
That's a good reason. Another good reason is that
No, I mean, I can tell
we've
you
been
why.
kicking the can down, we've been kicking the can on this for a long
4
time.
years.
Yeah, and we've been, piddle paddle, we've been, bleeding money at it in little fits and starts for minor repairs, and that's not gonna end. I mean, it's still in our budget. I mean, last couple of years, $20,000-$30,000. I mean, it's not, restriction, that's not gonna end until we make a decision one way or the other. And so it really is time limiting. So the thing is, engineers, or worst case scenario, it's got 2 or 3 years or 5, whatever they said 5 years ago, or I don't know. Don't quote me that, but it is gonna fall down soon enough. And I think it's been talked about for so long, and I don't want to keep throwing nickels and dimes at it. It's time for the village to make the decision, and it'll be the village, not this council. I strongly believe that that's what has been the right answer all along, and I think we should take this opportunity to let the people speak with their tax bills.
So
Jared, could you, just for the purpose of this meeting and for the public and for the press that's listening, can you repeat, how much this would cost per assessed value of a home? First of all, is the point we made last time, was that your home's value, what you would get on the market, is not its assessed value. Its assessed value is lower by half.
The assessed, no, the assessed value or state equalized value is usually roughly twice the taxable value. Okay,
Okay, but
taxable
we're-
value is lower.
Okay, so
The millage is based on the taxable value,
right,
and a 1 mil is equivalent to $1 of tax per $1,000 of taxable value.
okay,
So the easy way to do the calculation for people is you take the taxable value of your property, which you can find on your tax bill, tax statement, and move the decimal place 3 spots to the left. So if you have $100,000 taxable value, it's $100 per year for 1 mil.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm,
So for a 0.9 mil, you'd be paying $90.
mm-hmm. That's what this is.
For a
This is
100.
0.9 mil.
Yes, for a $100,000 taxable value.
Okay.
And you can just,
Okay.
do the multiplication, whatever that is.
So for a house that somebody just bought for, I don't know, pick a number, 400,000. What is the taxable value likely to be?
So if they purchase the house for 400,000,
Uh-huh,
it would likely be assessed at about 400,000, and the taxable value would be about 200,000.
okay,
So
so,
$180 a year.
so $180 a year. Okay, for 20 years,
Right.
okay? Good, thank you.
Edward wanted to.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, just some thoughts. I mean, does anyone else feel uncomfortable that, we're gonna have a millage on homes that people can't even be able to vote on this ballot if they're not a resident here?
No.
No.
This is the issue, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, yeah, Joe.
It's the issue I raised a couple of meetings ago, and I thought Will had an interest to refresh. My point was, what is our obligation to those who pay 2/3 of the tax revenue but don't vote? And I don't know the perfect answer to that. I know we owe them some responsibilities, but Will had, I think, an interesting retort. It's like, hey, you buy a house in Mexico, you gotta live by Mexican laws, right? You have no influence over Mexican laws. Which I think is a valid point, but that doesn't mean we don't owe them anything. I think we owe them basically our fiscal duty, right, to be good stewards of all the tax dollars, regardless of whether they come from voters or not. And I think we got to keep that in our mind, because this, 2/3 of this village will probably be paid by people who don't vote for us, are not eligible to vote here, right, to vote wherever they have their permanent residence.
That's something you assume. Like, if you want to sell a home here, you assume the, I'm trying to say assume the risk, but you assume the liability of not having a say in local government. That's just, okay, I live in Cincinnati and I wanna buy a house on North Shore Drive. You know that you're gonna be governed by the year-round residents and you're not gonna have a say in it. You can talk to them.
But that doesn't mean we have to get a responsibility to treat their tax
But no,
dollars
I'm not saying we
responsibly.
should be irresponsible, but I'm also, I don't lose sleep over it. You know, like I think
That's clear.
this is a village for the people who live year round. The 500 voters that live here year round, and that this is our village. If they want to have a house here, fine, but we're gonna govern you. That's just the way it is. And if you don't like it, buy a summer home somewhere else. Nobody's forcing you to live
Yeah,
there.
I think really, to get back to the millage, into Edwin's point, there's two questions that are facing this village council. A, are we gonna remove the dam? B, are we gonna replace it? And that question hasn't been called. And we know the only way to replace it is with. And so therefore, we are asking the citizens, if you wanna keep the mill pond and you're willing to pay for it, that's a road we're going to go. Is there a rush on it? We've talked about it for years, but I also think that doing nothing is also not an option. We need to start moving forward because the condition is questionable to some degree, and we are seeing higher increased rainfall events. We talked about this in the LTU meeting. We're seeing 100, 200, this last rain event, they considered maybe a 500-year event. And the last thing we want to happen is for the dam to fail and all that water to wash down. And, when you've got all the watershed center, the conservation lands, and we have these ecological organizations advocating for the removal. Well, I'm not a scientist or have a biology degree. It just, something needs to be done. And by doing nothing, I think it's just not an option at this point.
It's also getting shallower.
Yeah.
I mean, we're coming up to, it's the shallower it gets, the warmer it gets, that increases the algae bloom, as everybody now knows from the reflecting pool in Washington DC. So, can't keep doing nothing. I mean,
Doing nothing is a decision, and it's a bad decision.
Okay,
Yeah.
good enough.
You just out of curiosity, if you remember 4 years ago, I made the recommendation to put this to the voters 4 years ago. We kind of kicked it by the wayside for 4 years. I think it's time that we do something.
I think it was longer than 4 years ago.
I don't remember that, I think it's longer than 4 years ago.
I remember when we drove to that conference in Saginaw. We talked about it in the car, and I thought it was a brilliant idea, but then nobody seemed to think it was legal until Jared.
All right, so I'm a rookie, right, but I've been here 10 years. I've never seen an issue that has been this, people feel this passionate about in the 10 years I've been.
So that was good.
Right?
Thank you, Buster Day.
Well, there was a little bit, but
Yeah,
yes, even if it's number two, it's tough, and we're incapable as council of calling the ball ourselves, right?
I mean, we could, but.
We could, but we're not unwilling to. And as a result, no decision is a bad decision. And it's time to call the question. It's a one-way street. I mean, if the millage passes, there's no going back. That's whatever, slightly anxiety inducing, but it is what it is. And so I think it's time to have a robust public debate. And let them decide.
Okay. Everyone's satisfied with the discussion? Yeah, and there will be months for people to advocate for one side or the other of this issue. So, the motion was made by Susan, supported by Will, to adopt the resolution 2026-8. Roll call vote starting with Will.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
You.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Edwin. Yes. And yes. All right, motion passes. Item B is resolution 2026-14, the attainable housing.
I move to approve resolution 2026-14 as presented.
Or is it 2025?
2026-14.
Sorry.
AB.
I was just looking at the resolution.
Yeah, it says 2025.
It says 2025 in the resolution. I don't know if that's a typo or.
Yeah, probably in the file name.
It is 26 room.
Sorry, those motion was made by Susan, supported by you, I believe.
Yes.
To adopt resolution 2026-14 for the amendment to the attainable housing facilities exemption. Any discussion regarding this? Okay, Jared covered it in the summary memo. So motion made by Susan, supported by you for resolution 2026-14. Roll call starting with Evan. Yes. Susan.
Yes.
You.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Joe. Yes. Will. Yes. And yes. Motion carries. Item C is going to be a resolution 2026-15, addendum to the village manager letter of agreement. I move to approve resolution 26-15 as presented.
Second.
Motion was made by Chris, supported by Laura. Any discussion? Pretty good discussion. Closed session, so. Again, for the record, the motion is made by Chris, supported by Laura to adopt resolution 2026-15. Roll call vote starting with Will. Yes. Joe. Yes. Laura.
Yes.
You.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Edmund. Yes. Yes.
Before we go any further, I just like, once again, thank you for the job you're doing.
You're here. Thanks for having me. Yep. All right. Item D is the Wilson Culvert Replacement Bid Award. We did get some new information this afternoon regarding the a second bid from Waltons,
Yeah.
which was much more in line with our construction estimates from the engineering company. Looked like they were off by about 10% higher estimation. So we're having a little discussion before the motion tonight about giving the contractor comparison. Yeah, so the total estimated project cost from the engineers was $336,759. Elmer's was $677. Looks like Walton's is about $377.
371.
371.
747.
I mean, to me, the biggest, the cost for the culvert, quite a considerable difference there. 282 from Elmer's, 9,000 from Walton's.
This is on my, get this kind of.
Pat Mashin also is online. Just wanted you to be aware that he's our consulting engineer.
Why would the culverts be so different? Is one a lot better than the other?
That'd be a good question to ask.
Yeah, Pat might be able to answer that there.
Yeah, Pat, this is, yeah, you available to give us a little information or background on it? Or
Absolutely. So that was one of our conversations that we had with Dustin, who is the president of Walton Contracting, and he had found a supplier that was out of Indiana that could also provide this culvert and actually had substantially less expensive bid from them. So that is majority of the difference. The other thing too is that the contractors may have had slightly different amenities inside of that they would use as part of the construction. So their values might be a little bit different than each other. They might have had a little bit more excavation, a little bit extra things that they would have tied in with that. Having that being said, they found an MDOT pre-qualified precaster that would cast the same thing. All culverts are the same. I did ask here a comment there. All culverts would be the same and designed for highway loads. So that would all be, nothing would be different. And it seemed to be in good shape here after our interview with the contractor.
And the email that the manager provided said that they would be able to start after Labor Day for the work.
Yes, that's true.
This sounds like a weird question even to me, but the bids were solicited on May 13th or the bids were solicited on May 13th with bids due by noon on June 12th. So is there any reason to reject this new lower bid because it's late?
I don't think so.
I mean,
you could, but
It
given
would
the
be-
circumstances, it's really the only way that I could see us being able to do the project.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of the bottom line, I think.
We hired a village manager when his application came in late.
Yes.
Now he's on-
No, it was Jim Dyer. It was Jim Dyer.
I know.
Yeah,
Voted no because of.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
it's a good question though.
I grew up a Catholic school girl, when you're late, it's like, boom. All right. So.
Laura, you got anything to say?
Well, I can make a motion and then.
Sure.
I do have one thing, but I move that we approve the Walton estimate for the Rose Street culvert replacement.
Second. All right, motion made by Laura, supported by Edwin to approve the Walton bid for the Rose Street culvert. Discussion.
The only thing I want to say is just that, to me, it just seems like maybe Elmer's didn't actually want to do the job. This seems just like major markup to me. I mean, because when you look at material costs, they're way more. When you look, like for traffic direction, it's like over $30,000 and it's 3,000 in the Walton. It's just, to me, that's just like markup for the sake of,
Right, it's a small
Markup.
project. right?
yeah, that they don't want to do. So if you pay me enough, I'll do it, but
I agree.
otherwise I don't want to. That's what it feels like to me.
I agree.
And anyway, that's it. I totally support the Walton and I'm really glad that they did get it in late because it was extremely disappointing to me after having this project on the table since before I was here that it was finally gonna get done and then not, which stinks.
Right, so
So,
just one thing, I know nothing about culvert repair and replacement, but it almost like too good to be true. As long as we're confident that the 370 is all it's gonna take to do a good job. Right, it's a no brainer, right?
they are, right? They're
They're legit.
As far as I know, I don't know, I don't know all the ins and outs of Walton.
Patrick, are you familiar with Waltons and have confidence in them?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. In fact, a gentleman from my staff has known Dustin forever. His father-in-law was also in the business as well too, so it's a family thing. He's also, I want to say, he's working on a very large utility project for East Bay Township down in Traverse City. He's putting in a very large municipal force main. So this is the kind of work that's right up his alley, and is very competent in doing the work. Also with his timeliness and all the things that he was talking about were right in line with what we were thinking.
I would like to point out something that wasn't addressed directly as part of the motion. There is a Schedule A, which is the work for the culvert, and that includes utility relocation. There is also a Schedule B, which is something we added. It's not something that could be reimbursed as part of the grant. But we felt like we wanted to get pricing from the contractors because they're already gonna be on site doing this kind of work. So we priced, on Schedule B, you'll notice it's per ramp, opening and sidewalk. And that would be another ramp to connect to the block between Second and Third on Rose. If you can picture that on the west side, there's no sidewalk,
yeah,
but there is a sidewalk on the north side of Third.
yes.
So this would connect that. If you wanted to include that, I would suggest including that as part of your
So
award,
then-
because it's actually there's actually two separate parts of the bid. The first is Schedule A, the second is Schedule B.
So we would need to include both?
I would suggest including both.
Yes, so I meant to include Schedule A and Schedule B.
Agreed.
It sounds like Laura's amended it, and that was Joe's second.
Yep.
To include Schedule A and B. Any other discussion regarding the Rose Street culvert?
Once again, it's just gonna be good to have it done.
Okay, so the motion was made by Laura, amended motion made by Laura, supported by Joe to approve the Schedule A, which is replacement of the Rose Street culvert, approving the Walton bid, and Schedule B, which would be to improve some sidewalk in that area. Sound good? Okay. We're spending money, so we gotta take a roll call vote. Starting with Edmund.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
And yes. Motion passes. Brings us to item E, which is the wind turbine monopole proposal for removal.
I move we approve the proposal from Eisner Demolition for the purpose of removing the wind turbine monopole and authorize the village manager to execute the proposal contingent on funds provided by Leelanau Community Energy in an amount sufficient to cover the costs of the proposal.
Second.
Motion was made by Laura, supported by Susan, supported by Laura and Edwin, or something like that. To approve the proposal from Eisner Demolition. Any discussion? Yeah,
To mention that,
Yep.
Leelanau Community Energy has given the village checks for a total that is 23,300
Well, that's great.
prior to this meeting, so
Amazing.
I think we're ready to move forward with it.
Bravo to them.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Does that include the funds that we've given them that they were holding?
I mean,
There's more than we gave them.
Yes, it is. It was a
Gave them
$12,000 escrow.
Okay.
It was deposited with the village, was returned to them. So I guess that would be zero.
Yeah.
Now there's 23,300 coming to the village.
and that,
So,
So I guess it depends on how you do their accounting.
okay.
But what we thought we were gonna get.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yep.
Yeah,
and it looks like that will cover the entire cost of the,
yes.
of the removal, so.
They have indicated that they would not be able to do it on their initially scheduled day of June 25th because of a scheduling conflict, but they said they will be able to complete it within the proposal timeframe, which is August. Yeah, thank you.
What were you gonna say, Laura?
It's just DPW will oversee, or it's just they're gonna do it on their own and.
The contract is with the village, so village representatives will be coordinating this with Eisler. I think we also will need to have Leelanau Community Energy involved to some level because they're familiar with some of the components of the monopole that we aren't necessarily. There's a connection still to the treatment plant building.
But we're gonna leave that, right?
Yeah, we shouldn't remove that, but it needs to be decommissioned.
Yeah.
And there's also some components internal in the monopole that they're familiar with that I think we need them to coordinate a little bit. So they're involved at least with what's in there.
Is there water access? They were very specific about having.
We will make sure we can get it. I know the treatment plant can get it.
I figured
Uh,
there's water close
yeah,
by, can you
yeah.
get to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure there's a
Kind of
potable
water.
water.
Might be a little.
Nobody had water.
I know this is not part of the item, but I do believe that we should request the rest of the funds back, just for good measure, even if we don't believe that they're gonna give it back. We should ask for that, because that is a lot of money that we could use for other things.
The 12,000.
Yes.
Well,
No, I think the 12,000 was for this.
yeah.
It's to
so
do
if-
this.
if-
Now we're doing it.
If the job gets done, if the monopole's removed, then the conditions of the
The escrow.
escrow are met, so therefore it
Right.
wouldn't be our money anymore.
Gotcha, I see what you're saying. Never mind.
And they did give us the money, they brought it back today.
You did, in a sense.
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Okay, Sorry. Okay, so the motion was made by Susan, supported by Laura / Edwin to approve the wind turbine monopole proposal for removal. Any other discussion regarding the proposal? If not, we'll do a roll call vote starting with Will.
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
yes,
Yes,
Susan,
Yes,
Edmund, yes, and yes, motion passes. All right, item F is the Team Dukoski proposal for real estate services. We do have Nav Donnie here to help navigate the way. So if we have any questions regarding the proposal from him,
Should we,
sure.
to accept the proposal from Team Dukoski for the purpose of listing for sale and marketing the West Street property, parcel ID 042-200-04002, and authorize the village manager to execute and support the proposal as needed.
Second. Is that Will? Yeah. Motion made by Laura, supported by Will to approve the proposal from Team Dukoski as stated. Discussion? Anything you want to say or add to the proposal? I thought it was good. I like the concept of splitting it into two and sequentially.
Yeah, we won't be, with our relationship with surveyor, we're gonna get a draft made, and should, a purchaser purchase one lot and not the other lot, then the village would have to go through that split process to pay for it. But we're not gonna be using village money to get it split down until we have a contract on one of the lots.
Susan?
can I ask? Again, anything and everything can change, but what would you think would be the minimum these lots would sell for, and what might be the max?
Minimum's kind of a hard question, only because the topography of the lot is, it's not flat. Buyer's perception of value for that, I personally wouldn't, be looking at taking any offer. Kind of hard to say, at a certain amount, but I would advise as we go on the market and get activity and get questions and get feedback from the public buyers. Village, I'll keep you updated on that. And then maximum value, we've got the appraisal for 260 for the entire property. I think appraisals are opinion. We know that Northport and Winona County in general have been pretty hot as far as real estate, and maximum value, in my opinion, after looking at it, no matter how many times we can divide it up 3 times, but that 300 to 320,000 is maximum we should be looking at it. So the value.
That's for the two lots combined.
The 2 lots combined, 149 each, 300,000.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion regarding the proposal?
It's on the agenda because sells best in July, or that's the best time to market.
So Northport, from once again opinion to follow other real estate agents, that Northport's market is from June 15th to middle of August. That's when it's the most activity up here. So yes, I would say that June 15th to middle of August is most of our time to sell in Northport.
What's the reason for selling? What's our motivation? I know make money, but are we putting it towards a project, or do we just want our homes?
I think we've had discussions about the fact that it's a village owned parcel that the village doesn't currently do anything with.
Right, yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and so if there's a way to generate revenue to put towards another capital expenditure, we're not at this time earmarking it for anything, but if and when they do sell, we'll have, money that we can have a discussion about, whether to put it towards.
It's just looking at that.
Yeah, marina engineering or, other stuff. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think it's just a way to, like you said, It's an asset that we're not using anything for, and it's got value.
Yeah, that's how well markets on it.
Yeah.
Well, to me, if you put it in the capital fund, I mean, that means it can be for any capital project, and those are all things that we are always needing.
It's a good problem to have. Cash.
Any other discussion? Okay, so the motion was made by Laura, supported by Will, to approve the proposal from Team DeKoski for whatever that parcel number is. Parcel 04-242. Authorize the village manager to execute and support the proposal as needed. Yeah, I don't think so. No. I mean, technically, we're not spending money, right?
Roll call or not?
Yeah, I don't think
No,
that's
all right,
necessary.
we'll take a break from the roll call ones. All in favor of the proposal from Team Mikowski as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that brings us to the water system video camera purchase. An estimate from Amazon is in the packet.
I move to approve the estimate from Anavon Technologies to install video cameras and associated accessory equipment at the water tank and well houses at a cost not to exceed $15,000 with funds available in the water.
We'll give this one a minute. Motion made by Susan, supported by Evan to approve Amazon not to exceed $15,000. Discussion?
Yeah, I'm confused. I mean, I trust Anavon. I mean, it's what they do and they're very good at what they do. Why Starlink? I mean, there's every one of these well houses, every one of these locations has, I mean, a decent speed cell connection, and I don't see the need to go satellite, which is less reliable. And why not just run an AT&T brick? You know, I mean, you could do a connection with Firehouse.
Isn't that more expensive?
No, way less.
Because you're tying a phone to it.
Yeah, it's $50 a month. Is it or less? Is it Starlink's $200 per location? And I don't understand. I'm gonna vote no on this because I want to see them come back with an explanation why they want to use Starlink in the village, because nobody in the village uses Starlink at all.
I could quickly respond with, I don't want to use Starlink on two locations.
But it's in there.
I know, but we don't have to use the Starlink connection. If you'll notice, it says, no, we don't have to use, that's not part of what's actually priced in the proposal. And they need the Starlink connection in order to provide a live feed. This is what I understand from what they've said, the Starlink is, Anavon.
That's the part I want to explain, because I don't think they're right.
I just don't think we need the live remote viewing on the well houses. I think we'd be fine with just having one at the water tank. I would prefer doing that, but I can't really answer the technical question on, do we have to have Starlink, or could we do potentially a live feed with a cell connection? I'm not sure that we could, but I don't have the full answer to that right now. So,
Yeah, the proposal from them for the 15,000 doesn't include any of the Starlink hardware or the monthly service charge.
That's
Correct. No connectivity.
So there could be another option for the connection, which I think is what you're asking or wanting. But the proposal that you would be approving would be for basically the video surveillance hardware stuff. So if we wanted to do a charter line up there.
It's set up but not activation.
Yeah. My concern is that they'll say, well, we can't do it without the Starlink, but maybe someone else could.
Should we table this and ask
Yeah,
them to come in
I don't know.
and answer questions?
I mean, unless we're expecting a terrorist attack, which nobody ever does. I it just doesn't make sense to me the way it's written. And I don't think we know what we want. And actually, I'd like to, I mean, Amazon's done a lot of stuff. Have they ever done a water system surveillance program before? I mean, what are best uses out there? You know, what's standard practice out there? I'm not comfortable with this. I think it might be a lot more than we need, you know, it could be, you know, hunting cameras, you know, I mean, there are other things out there. Plus, you do need it live. You need something needs to go to the cloud, or if, you know, somebody with nefarious ways, they'll smash the hard drive, and then, you know, it doesn't matter if they were recorded or not.
I really like the setup that they've done at the marina, Anavan. It provides.
That's
the
what I mean.
access and the angles. It does what we needed to do. We did behind the scenes talk about how we could do it for lower cost, but all the options that we looked at were gonna be no less than half of what Anavan was charging, and I just like having them
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
in charge of actually
Okay.
doing it because of their expertise.
Okay.
You know, but to the point about urgency, I mean, I don't think there's a huge risk in putting this off until we can get you all the answers that you would
Or-
like.
Or not, or like you said, we could maybe change some details, you know, and just get it going, get the process rolling, and say, hey, do we really have to use Starlink? Because that is gonna be a significant cost. And that's something that I don't wanna vote for this if they say we can't do it without Starlink, because your 3 locations Starlink, that's $600 a month.
I think we were talking about the discussion Jared and I had with Vicky Slot and some emails was that we would only use the Starlink for live remote access at the water tank. The well houses here in town would not necessarily need those, but the fact that the water tank is
Not wired.
yeah, and the point where more damage could happen than others.
You got a 5G signal up there. No, you don't need it. There's way more bandwidth than you need for one camera.
I will definitely check into that to see. You know,
I was just gonna add that Josh Rudela did do some research in the Starlink that they were proposing. Starlink, I do have Starlink at my home. It's about $150 a month for
Okay.
the regular, but they do have some smaller plans. And we have that for like traveling, and it was gonna be less than $50 a month for
Okay,
the, you know, at the top of Bremen. And then we have to have one at our, well number, I forget if it's 2 or 3 over here, you
Yeah.
know, by the hospital.
behind me, yeah.
Yeah.
Behind my other house.
and I'm fine personally. I'm fine not having the live remote viewing on the well houses as long as we've got it on the water tank. That would be
Yeah,
my
true.
preference, just to keep that monthly ongoing cost down.
Okay. Well, we can vote.
Okay, and again, Laura, you have your hand up, maybe, sorry?
Oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, whatever, it doesn't matter.
The motion can be conditional, right? We can do
Well,
all,
we've got a dollar volume, so I mean, we've got a cap, so let's just,
right?
Which
And
is
the condition, and the conditionality is
Yeah.
that Jared will continue to
Yeah,
investigate
okay,
alternative connectivity.
yep, that's enough. We should get things, let's not
Yep.
get bogged down in the weeds.
All right, so a motion was made by Susan, supported by Edwin to approve the estimate from Anavan Technologies to install the video cameras and associate them with the water tank and well houses not to exceed 15,000 with funds available for the water tank. Roll call vote starting with Edwin.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
And Chris, yes. The motion passes. All right, no discussion items. Brings us to item 10, which is going to be our second public comment. Once again, members of the public will have up to 5 minutes to address the village council and state your name and residence for the record, and public comment is open. Hand up, yes, Elizabeth.
Yes, Jared, I appreciate your analysis as far as the 1.5 million. The only thing I would ask is, could the village council consider I got a lot of baggage, a lot of history here, and numbers don't always pan out. So would the village council consider covering anything that is over 1.5 million? Because if you're asking the voters to do the millage at 1.5 and you come in with an overage, I don't want to see 8% per year going on for 4 years. So I'm pretty sure that if you're comfortable with that number, there probably will be no issue. But I would ask the council to consider that they will cover anything over 1.5 million. As far as the other number, Jared, I would also appreciate somebody going out and finding out the two numbers so that we are educated. I understand what you passed tonight, that's fine, but I still think we, the public, should know, and Laura, thank you for saying that, should know what the two numbers are. How much is it costing? How can we make an educated guess? Because it's a guess if we don't know an actual number. I don't think you need to have a bid, but I think you need to have something from the people that would be doing either the repair or the demolition. So I don't have any stake in this game, but I'm listening from a distance. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Campbell McCauley can. In case it doesn't pass, the millage does not pass, and we have a free flowing stream, let's make sure the Rose Street culvert is designed appropriately for that type of stream when it's going in. And as far as what the 1.5 million, I have some experience putting together cost proposals, and I'd say that's a pretty fair budgetary estimate that you did. You have contingency in there and escalators for inflation. There is uncertainty. I don't know if it's 20 years, so there'd be maintenance. The DPW would have to, still be there to do certain things, and they're going to bill hours. So I don't know if that's in there, but I think what you've done, it would be sufficient for the purpose. And I do, once again, think we should have a fact sheet with this information, how people can calculate the taxes they would have to pay if the millage is passed, and how the costs were built up. And I guess the earlier comment was people were talking about is actually taxation without representation for people who move up here and don't become residents. So that's basically what that is. But they know that. And it'll be interesting because I think a lot of the ponders, people support the duck pond are in the township. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But it will be an interesting fall coming up to it. It will be.
Thanks, Campbell. Any other public comments? If there is anyone else for second public comment, we'll move on to council comment. Anyone from, Susan?
Well, as listening to Campbell talk and some of these discussions about the dam and the costs and the this and the that, I'm struck that beyond the economic issue and beyond the environmental issue is the complexity issue. I mean, if we maintain this, keep this dam, we are going to be maintaining it and dredging it and everything. I mean, it's going to require a lot of attention and a lot of money. And if we eliminate the dam, it's going to take a little time for things to settle in, for the stream to settle into its new path. But it will be simple after that, much simpler and less costly.
Joe?
So I'm all for the public forum. I'm a little fearful of the Facebook food fight that I envisioned over the coming months. I can't do anything to change that, right? So my question or comment is there any capacity for us to facilitate a genuinely fact-based, not opinion-based, but a fact-based page or portal, right, for the public? And everyone can have their opinions on Facebook and throw as much, putting at each other as they want. But for us to try and discharge our duty to inform the public. Is there a way to allay everyone's concerns with, okay, here are the numbers, right? This is what we know, and these are the risks associated with any of them. And just give someplace a safe and peaceful place to go to get the facts are as we know. And if that's possible, I would encourage us to.
You,
Just, and Chris would know the answer to this, but if we goes back to just a stream, all that silt's gonna still have to be removed and sent now, for sure. It's not just gonna dry up and go away.
no, there'll be a risk. The grants they're talking about, the rewildings that I have seen, it'll be a beautiful park. And it's not gonna be a mud pile. There's gonna be a total restoration, plantings, vegetation, but done by experts and done in a professional way. That's what we wanna do. We don't wanna just take the dam out and leave a mud hole. And that's why we will apply for every single grant we can and spend every dime of the state's money that we can and the federal government's too. To make it the best park we could possibly make it. And I think people might end up liking it in the end. They might, or they may pine forever about the pond we once had. But let them decide. But it won't be a mud hole. I mean, I won't let that happen.
There are some of these environmental companies that do this kind of work. They have before and after pictures of other sites.
If anything, they'll fill. They'll bring in layers of fill so that they can fill on top of it and then create a stream bank. That's my guess. I'm not an expert. That's the pictures I've seen of other developments.
Laura?
I mean, these are things that I think could be scheduled for discussion, right? Like,
Right.
if we want to know what it could look like or what the options are,
Yeah, we have to be very careful now that it's gonna go on the ballot, not to skew the election. I don't think we should have the no pond on any agendas from now until November, because we shouldn't be talking about it.
how are we getting the facts out to people?
We don't, that really isn't our responsibility anymore. They're voting on the ballot measure, and I think we have to tread very lightly and carefully about any kind of official statement that the village makes or the council makes about trying to sway this election one way or another, or we're gonna get in trouble. And I would suggest that we do not bring this up again until the vote is taken. So people,
So to Joe's point, in my discussions with Jared regarding this, I think that we do have some responsibility to, as you say, get the facts out there about what the millage incorporates. But like I said at the end of our last meeting, between now and the election in November, that is the time for the groups that are advocating for the removal or the replacement, for them to have their forums, for them to host, a meeting, a group thing, whatever they want to call it, to try to make their point to the voters. And we don't have a responsibility to provide that forum. That's where we cannot be in a position of advocating for or against. As a council, we cannot do that. As private citizens, we can make statements if we want to, but
I agree.
and there will be misinformation. I mean, every election is packed with misinformation, and there will be people that will purposely put out misinformation to try to sway the vote. There's nothing we can do about it. We just took this issue and took it out of this room. And so, and I'm very happy about it. We're done until the vote happens one way or another. We are done with this. And
I envision having, if nothing more, we're gonna have resource on the website, similar to what we've done with the 7th Street documents, have it all in one place on the website, so that people can access the GEI study and a number of other things that will provide the background material, public record material that people can access. And I think also the village does have a responsibility to have some of these facts out there. What does a village mean? What does that mean for your tax payment? So some things like that provide factual information for our website. We'll definitely do that, and I'll start working on that right away. And I think our new site is going to give us some options to where that goes.
But we're not gonna say whether brook trout swim up or down or across.
And then move to adjourn.
But facts about what a millage is, what it'll cost, et cetera, I support that.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned at 8:25.
No wonder.
What?
Website.
Cool.
Catholic school.
Oh,
No wonder, you're not gonna put your weather.
Oh,
no.
It's crazy.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Here.